Lauren and her husband, Amir, are sitting at the kitchen table with their son, Hamza. They are eating dinner and suddenly, Amir gets a feeling. He gets up out of his seat and excuses himself. Lauren keeps eating her food while Hamza looks at his mom with confusion. Amir goes into a different room and starts to pray. Focus dawns upon him. Hamza questions his mom. Why did Dad just go into a different room all of a sudden? Lauren finishes her piece of chicken and looks into her son's eyes. She starts to explain how his dad got a calling from God to pray. This is called Adhan, said Lauren. Hamza still looks confused. Amir finishes praying and starts to eat his food again. Hamza watches his parents eat, still confused about what's going on. Hamza sits quietly while he eats his food. Once the family is done eating, Lauren begins to wash dishes. The family sits down on the couch and starts to watch TV, enjoying the company of one another. After they enjoyed watching a family movie and eating popcorn, now it is evening time. The dusk prayer comes around. Amir stands up and goes to his room to pray again. Later, Lauren goes into another room to pray as well. Hamza watched them from far and noticed something. Mom comes back soon, and Hamza questions his mom. How come you two don't pray together since you are married? Lauren gets out of her chair and starts to explain to her son. I am Catholic while your dad is Muslim, my son. We worship the same God, but since we are two different religions, we are called at different times. Religion was not an issue in front of our marriage. He was a great guy I know. He is a good dad and a good husband for me too. Hamza starts to realize what is going on. Then, Amir came back from praying and said, Yes, son, I heard some of your discussion. I am Muslim, and my prophet is Muhammad, and your mom is Catholic, and her prophet is Jesus. We loved each other. That is why we got married. Our difference in religion was not an issue in front of our marriage. We are both practicing our religions differently. I respect her religion. Then Hamza asked, but why I hear from people and TVs that Muslims and Christians hate each other? Amir answered, yes, unfortunately we hear too. But that is not true. We as Muslims should respect Jesus and believe in him as one of the great prophets. Otherwise, our faith to God is not completed and not accepted at all. Son, my book of religion is Quran. Only 4 times the name of Muhammad is mentioned, but 25 times the name of Jesus is mentioned. While the book is for Muhammad, not for Jesus. Other than this, the only woman who mentioned in Quran is Virgin Mary. Son, there are bad people in every religion, but there are few, not much. After this long discussion, they went out to have a fresh air and sit in the backyard. Amir gets the last calling to pray for that day. Hamza watches his father go into the room, leaving the door open. He goes in front of the door to investigate. He observes his dad praying and decides to join. He gets on his knees right next to his dad and starts to pray. Lauren watches from afar, seeing her son praying with his dad, and shows her smile. This story teaches us that it doesn't matter what religion you study. All that matters is we should respect each other's religion and thought. Eventually, we are all creatures of God. A child has lost his shoes in the sea. He wrote in the sand, The sea is a thief. A fisherman captured a very big fish in the sea. He wrote that in the sand. The sea is very generous. A child drowned in the sea. His mom wrote in the sand. The sea is a murderer. An old man found a pearl in the sea. He wrote in the sand, the sea is very kind-hearted. The wave wiped out a couple of tourists. The survivors wrote in the sand, the sea is dangerous. Don't ever think about what people may say about you. Stay true to yourself as you continue your own life. You're living it, not the other people, so disregard what they have to say. So, wipe out your mistakes in order to continue friendships, brotherhood, and love. Don't wipe out either of those things to continue the same mistake. When you face other people's challenges and actions, don't respond in a negative way. Think positive thoughts to spread that energy as you talk to them. Treat people how you would want to be treated. Go based on your behavior, not theirs. If they are having a bad day and they tell you, don't step up to their level. Be the bigger person and show them the respect and good vibes. At the end of the day, your behavior is the only thing left. You have to worry about yourself, making sure you are okay. It is the only thing that will proceed into the future forever. Once upon a time, there's a dad and a son. The dad was named Robert and the son was named Jeff. Robert was a single parent all throughout his life. There were many challenges that he had to overcome in order to provide for his son. Now, Robert is 75 years old while his son is 45 years old. Back in the 1900s, Robert didn't grow up with such technology. There were no cell phones or computers, but now there is a lot of new technology. Jeff grew up in the 1900s also, but since he was younger, he was able to comprehend and adapt to technology. One day, the two are at a restaurant. In order to get food, they had to use a device that was plugged into the wall. Jeff is easily able to do this, but when it comes to his dad, he is clueless. Jeff orders his food and waits for his dad to order too, but he is having trouble doing so. Jeff starts to get mad at him saying, "Hurry up, Dad, there's other people waiting in line." Robert gets frustrated to the point where he just walks out the building. Jeff runs after him and insists on going back inside. Robert looks at him with a tired face, getting into the car telling his son that he wants to go home. Jeff agrees and gets in the car and drives his dad home. Once they get home, Robert steps out of the car, and before he heads into his house, he gives his son a letter. He said to the son, "Please read this as soon as you get home." Jeff agrees and starts driving home. He gets home, gets out of his car, and enters his house. Jeff goes and lays down on the couch with the note in his hand. He gets as comfortable as he can get and opens up the letter. Suddenly, he closes the letter because he fears what can be written in it. He gets back up and starts to walk around the room. He is just so shocked that his dad gave him a random letter, but then he sits down and starts to read it. The letter mentions, "Hey son, it's Dad. I just wanted to write this letter so you know what I'm going through. As you know, I am 75 years old so I am pretty old. You have to understand that I do things a little slow, and it's hard for me because of my age. When I'm eating and I make a mess on myself, please excuse me because I can't control my shaking. When I can't use technology, please don't get mad at me because it is too new to me. When I walk slowly to the car or to anywhere, please excuse me because my body doesn't move how it used to. Lastly, when I don't remember things, please excuse me because my brain isn't working that much anymore. I am getting closer to death, so please, son, excuse me for all my issues before I pass away. Jeff starts to tear up as he knows that he doesn't treat his dad right. He goes back to his house and gives him a hug saying, "I love you, Dad. I am sorry for my mistakes. You are always my hero, and I am here today because of you, Dad. I am so sorry." This story teaches us to respect your elders. As the older you get, the more things seem to be hard. We are all going to reach an old age one day, so please respect them as you would want to be respected. Once upon a time, there was a kid and a dad. The kid was named Evan, and the dad was named Brad. Evan would always come home from school in a sad mood. He would complain to his dad that the school kids would always bully him. Brad would tell his son the same thing every day. "Stop being a baby and man up. Start a fight with those pathetic kids." Evan didn't want to start any fights because he was a nice kid, always helping out others. Evan would go into his room and start crying because his dad isn't helping out at all. Dad would hear Evan crying, so he would storm into his room and abuse him. Brad would shout, "Men don't cry. Stop crying and go wash your face from those baby tears." This would devastate Evan because he knows that he shouldn't be crying like his dad says. The next day, Evan walks into school with a tank top on. One of his teachers notices the bruises and marks on him. She immediately sends him to the nurse to check up on him. The nurse would ask if someone had hurt him. Evan replies in a soft tone of voice, "My dad beats me because I come home crying every day." The school takes this situation seriously, so they let the school therapist know about the situation. The therapist goes and talks to Evan. Evan knows how he gets bullied all the time, so it makes him cry. He begins to tell him that his dad expects more from him and wishes him to stop crying like a baby. The therapist acknowledges how bad of a situation this is and schedules a meeting with the son and dad. A week later, the dad comes into the school and demands that he doesn't want to talk to anyone. All he wants is his son, and that's it. The therapist and Evan trick Brad into sitting down in the school office for some counseling. The therapist explains, "Your son, Evan, is a very emotional person. When the kids bully him at school, it really affects him in a way that you don't understand. You have to realize that his emotions overtake him, which cause him to cry. Just because he is a male doesn't mean he is not allowed to cry. He has every right to do so." Brad looks at the therapist and starts to think to himself. He said, "It's because my dad taught me that we are not able to show our emotions, so I thought it was normal. I use the same techniques on my son because I think it is the right way. After listening to what you had to say, I truly understand now how I made his situation worse. Brad starts to tear up, then suddenly breaks down in front of Evan. Evan looks at his dad crying and realizes that his dad truly regrets his mistakes in the past. Evan hugs his dad and thanks the school therapist for helping them out. Brad takes Evan home and starts to accept that his son can cry whenever he wants. But all he has to know is that his dad will be there for him no matter what. This story teaches us that every gender has feelings and emotions. Just because society looks at males as tough people, sometimes they need to let out their emotions or it will lead to violence.